Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Tennessee postgame live show here on the Voice of College Football Network. Tucker Harlan and Jordan Binkley with you on this Saturday night. If you guys like what you see on the show, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. We are live every Monday night. Really helps us out, helps you get close to all the great Tennessee football content that you enjoy. Well, we have just sat through yet another instant classic on a Saturday afternoon involving Tennessee against a Bulldogs team in the SEC. The good news is Tennessee got it done this time around, 41-34 in overtime. And Jordan, this is a game, it had all the makings of one of those funky Josh Heupel road losses, right? You have a couple turnovers in there. You've got some funky clock management decisions. A couple early mistakes in the game as well, just from a coaching standpoint. Like, why are you playing Braylon Staley as your punt returner in the game there at the beginning as opposed to Boo Carter? Even though we do know that Boo muffed last week, and that was obviously problematic. But the good news is for Josh Heupel is winning fixes everything. And I think that's going to be the theme of the show. There's a lot of things Tennessee needs to work on that came out of this game. But overall, I think Tennessee is at least going to feel better about itself after winning down in Starkville. You don't want to fall to 0-2 in the SEC, but you're going to feel better later tonight with this win.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, I've calmed down a little bit more as the game went on, but there was quite a few things I was frustrated with in this game. I mean, you mentioned like the play calling there at towards the end. I mean, burning 25 seconds off the clock, like that run there across midfield. Like, I don't really have any answers to what was going on with that. But thankfully, good teams, they find a way to win by any means possible, and that's what Tennessee got done. But man, there's a lot to work on. Like, I thought that there was Kitzelman bobbled two passes that ended up leading to interceptions for Aguilar. Mike Matthews once again had a couple of missed drops. I felt like Tennessee strayed away a little bit from the run game. I think statistically they had more runs than passes, if I'm not mistaken, but it was kind of hard to tell that, like, watching the game, because it seemed like Tennessee was a lot more dominant from passing, from a passing perspective than they were rushing. But overall, there are things to be positive about too. Aguilar going crazy there towards the end. I think he was like 6 for 6 on that last drive where he had that rushing touchdown. Aguilar looked good. I thought Brazel looked good. There was that OPI call that was questionable that everyone's been raving about on Twitter. But yeah, a lot of emotions went through this game. How did you feel about the game?
Yeah, there was a moment in that game where I thought Tennessee was dead, honestly. After they converted that fake punt, I thought there is no way Tennessee's winning this game. And guess what happened the very next play? You get a strip sack and a fumble recovery from Josh Josephs, and suddenly you're just like, oh, man, there's life that we did not know this team had. Just a wild swing of emotions over the course of this game. But again, that's how all the instant classics are. You have these momentum shifts. You can feel them in the stadium. I've experienced them in person. So lots of fun. Going to be a lot of fun reflecting on it. Not so fun watching it at the moment, but just want to look around at some things from this game that we observed. I guess we can start on the offensive side. Kind of a funky game from Tennessee offensively. I was fairly certain Tennessee would be able to do whatever it wanted on the ground. And it's not so much that Tennessee wasn't able to do that today. It just happened to be that they didn't want to do it as much. Didn't feel like. You get 131 yards on the ground. Ended up running the ball 32 times. That's not including sacks, which there were only 2 of them for Mississippi State. And by the way, those are the first 2 real sacks, we're going to call them, that Tennessee's offensive line has allowed over the course of the season. But ended up only running the ball 32 times, I guess 30 if you include sacks. So 40 pass attempts from Joey Aguilar in this game. And I liken what Joey Aguilar's performance looked like tonight to pitching a little bit in baseball. You have those funky games every now and again where you come out and you throw a nice inning or two, but then suddenly the opposing pitcher gets rattled, and you're up like 5 or 6 runs because this guy just can't strike anybody out, can't throw balls over the plate at all, throwing things in the dirt. But then you get back out there after a pretty lengthy hiatus in the dugout, and suddenly you're out of a rhythm a little bit. That's kind of what happened to Joey Aguilar in this game. Obviously, we're happy that Tennessee was able to score touchdowns on defense. Not as if that's problematic, but I do think that's something that messed with his rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of passes. Particularly in the screen game, I noticed that he overthrew a couple of those, but it seemed like for the most part, he connected on those deeper passes. Overall, like I was impressed with Aguilar. I thought once again, like I've been talking about it the whole season so far. He seems so confident in the pocket. He's had nerves of steel in this game. That drive that he had there towards the end, that's what helped Tennessee win the game right there. And those 2 interceptions, like I saw that you mentioned it on Twitter. You mentioned on Twitter. You could argue that none of his interceptions this season are his fault. In that game alone, both of them were Miles Kitselman's fault. Both of them bobbled out of his hands and then led to interceptions.
Well, I thought about it a little bit. You're right. Neither of them were his fault. Kitselman could have made plays on the ball. Now, Joey did not throw those balls in stellar position. I think they were a little bit high, and I'm trying to think, maybe to the right of Kitselman. But again, unlucky tips are what forced those plays to happen. And other than maybe the first one against Georgia, none of his 5 interceptions have really been on him, which is the wild thing. People, if you're a box score warrior and you didn't watch this game at all, and you're just looking and you're like, oh, Joey Aguilar, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, that's not great. But when you go back and watch the tape, sure enough, it's not that much on him. And it's funny because he had it was a 3rd or 4th down conversion pass completion to Chris Brazel on the final drive of regulation. And Brazel caught it, and it was not in the best position. Let's just be real. But it was in the same position that some of those misses to Kitselman were, where the ball got deflected and ended up in a DB's hands. So, maybe Kitselman can make that play, but that has to be frustrating as a quarterback to have to deal with that. And you look at so you had 4 touchdowns scored by Mississippi State in that game. 3 of them were off turnovers. If you think about it, you had the muff punt, you had another turnover, or two interceptions in that game, I should say. That both set up Mississippi State with short fields. I'm trying to remember. Did they actually score on the first one? I'm trying to remember. I'll go back and look, but because there was the one play where Dave Neal just went full Jay Feely and completely missed the fact that Mississippi State kicker was wide right on that field goal attempt. That may have been one of them, but I'm gonna at least confirm here. No, they were both touchdowns, actually. So that would be 21 of Mississippi State's 28 points in that game were off turnovers, essentially. So, and both teams were able to capitalize on that. Tennessee benefited from it as well, as we'll talk about later. But very frustrating for a guy to have to deal with stuff like that if you're Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, I'll say, he seemed like he handled it well, though. I know on the second interception, they had a camera on him on the sidelines, and he looked like he didn't look upset. He didn't look happy. Like, he didn't really have much of emotion at all, like kind of like a robot back there, which, I mean, they always say it's good to have a short-term memory if you're a quarterback. And I mean, like, that seems like that's been Joey Aguilar's MO so far this season. And I like I said, he didn't seem frustrated on the sideline. And I feel like it would be hard not to be, especially if that's your second interception in the game and you're trying to win a close one. I mean, I would be frustrated. So, I mean, I think, Joey Aguilar is better under pressure than I would be for sure.
Yeah. And I think you have to in that situation because it's not on yourself. It's hard not to feel guilty if you're the guy that threw the pass, but you got to have that feeling internally that no, I did not make a mistake here, and we can flush this out and then just go on with the game. Just do that. So, he gets to 335 passing yards for the game. The drops from these wide receivers, they're going to have to stop at some point. Mike Matthews had a walk-in touchdown that he dropped from what would have been a 69-yard pass from Joey Aguilar. Braylon Staley had a couple in that game as well. Obviously, we've discussed Kitzelman with those two interceptions. Brazel is your most sure-handed wide receiver right now. I didn't count any drops from him. The only incompletions were off-target ones from Joey where they just weren't on the same page. But it's clear to me that he is your alpha and that wide receiver room. You got to continue to target him as much as possible.
Yeah, Chris Brazel's been an absolute dog this entire season. And during the game, after he got that touchdown pass, I decided to do a little math on there. And he's got 7 touchdowns in 5 games. So if you divide that and everything and multiply it by 12 for the regular season, he will be sitting at 16.8 touchdown catches on the season, which you could just round up to 17 at that point. And if he got 17 receiving touchdowns, that would be 2 more than Jalen Hyatt did the year that he won the Belinkinoff Award. So Chris Brazel's been playing outstanding. He made that acrobatic circus catch earlier in the game. Just been fantastic. But Mike Matthews, I really hope that he can get everything together because, I noticed a couple, I think it was the Georgia game and maybe the game last week, he had a couple of drop passes, and I've just noticed a trend. I've noticed a trend of him dropping passes, and I feel like, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Like when he has the ball in his hands, I think that he's very dynamic, but it's just actually getting the ball into his hands that seems to be an issue at times.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you've got a guy that is in position to make good catches and just drops it or just isn't quite on the same page with Joey. It feels like, but Matthews ended up being your lead receiver in this game. 6 catches, 118 yards, which is still a very good night. I know he had some nice plays toward the end of that game. Had the one there, I think maybe on the second possession of the game, where Tennessee very quickly got out of the 50. Here's the thing: Tennessee starting possessions, on its side of the 50, had no problem getting to the 50-yard line. But once it crossed the 50-yard line, it was in danger, it felt like, for a lot of the game. So that was a little bit of a problem. But no, he and Staley both made up for it there at the end of the game because Staley obviously had a very tough 4th down conversion on that final possession of regulation, in which Aguilar scored the touchdown. So, no, they cleaned up a little bit there toward the end of the game, which is good. Offensively, again, you'd like to see Tennessee run the ball a little bit more. It looks like Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas are beginning to pull away a little bit in terms of being guys that they depend on in the backfield. Deshaun Bishop just 1 more carry than Star Thomas in this game. Star not super heavily involved this time around, or just not super productive, I should say. 33 yards. Did have 1 reception that went for 0 yards in this game, but Bishop was by far your most productive back. It felt like if you had a run of 6, 7, 8 yards on the first down, it would be Deshaun Bishop getting it, not Star Thomas. But and of course too with Bishop, he sealed the game with that touchdown run, and then of course helped out by the defense getting that stop on a 4th and goal. So. Again, was looking to see this team run the ball a little bit more, especially after what we saw Mississippi State give up in that Arizona State game. But you I guess take what you can get if you end up winning the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty impressive that Tennessee did win the game. I mean, considering how like Mississippi State, I mean, most of the times you see teams win when they control the ground game. And I mean, yardage wise, if you look up the totals, it doesn't look too terrible. I mean, Mississippi State apparently had 198 and Tennessee had 131, but it surely did not seem like that watching the game. I mean, Bothwell for Mississippi State, I mean, it seemed like as soon as he got a handoff, he was already clocking 20 miles per hour, and he was just destined to get 7 yards seemingly on every play. That was
5'10", 230 playing running back. That is a bowling ball of a human being coming right at you.
bowling ball, and he was super quick too, man. Like
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, he took off immediately every single time that he had handoffs, and I was getting worried there towards at some points during the game, wondering if Tennessee could stop it. I mean, overall, like defensively speaking, I mean, like I think Tennessee did excellent with the pass rush in the game. Maybe the best pass rushing that we've seen from them all this year. Especially Caleb Herring stepping up, which I've noticed over the past couple of games, he started to get more active. They counted as like 1.5 sacks in this game, but I mean, he got back-to-back sacks on that one drive. But as far as like the run defense goes, I mean, I think Tennessee's got some things they need to work on, which could be accredited to the defensive line injuries, which I know Tyree West went down at one point and Josh Josephs, and then they both returned later in the game, and then they got that fumble touchdown. But yeah, the run game, Tennessee was having a hard time stopping that, and the stats don't necessarily show it either.
Yeah, no, they do. I think 197 yards is a pretty solid output from anybody on the ground. So Tennessee actually ended up with more rush yards in this game than it did against Georgia, despite the fact it had like 40 going into the fourth quarter. It felt like, one thing I was going to mention too, something that I was keeping an eye on over the course of the game were pre-snap penalties. How would Tennessee handle itself on the road in an environment like that? Now, here's what's tricky is obviously I was not there, so I don't know. It's probably useless to ask the people who were there because, they got the cowbells. They have to silence the cowbells by a certain point. So they can't use them to get loud on third down necessarily. But on TV, like once those cowbells stopped, it didn't sound loud at all. So, and that too could be just due to the makeup of the stadium. Like you have it open on one side, whatever end zone that is. So I don't know. That could be part of it, but I don't think noise was quite as big of a factor in this game as we expected. So no offsides penalties. You did have 2 false starts. I think one in the first half, and then another when David Sanders got into the game or late in the game in the fourth quarter. And that's something we need to mention too. David getting his first game action, not until the fourth quarter, of course, but he obviously comes in due to unfortunate circumstances with Jesse Perry going down. I guess we'll keep you guys updated on what happens there. I've yet to see any press conference quotes from Josh Heupel just yet. And he doesn't have to reveal any of that information until 2 weeks from now, as it's a bye week coming up. But I mean, I don't have much of an assessment on David Sanders' first game in a Tennessee uniform, just because we only saw him for a few snaps, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there wasn't enough film on him to really know like how effective that he can be with Tennessee. I mean, and he's still young too. I mean, it was his first start in the game. I mean, the false start was a little frustrating, but I mean, of course, like Tennessee, it ended up not being a huge deal at the end of the game. But I mean, statistically speaking, I mean, Tennessee's offensive line has been pretty spectacular so far in the season, and I've been like tracking the stats for the tackles for loss and sack counts that Tennessee's given up, and given up 2 sacks today, and then 4 tackles for a loss, which would be the most in both categories for the season so far. But overall, I mean, the offensive line's still been good for the most part, just a little slight decrease on this during this week. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're playing an SEC team on the road. And give credit to Mississippi State, by the way, because I was a little bit critical going into this game. But they are a pretty good football team. They are a pretty good football team,
Yeah.
much better than I expected them to be. And I can see them fighting for the rest of the season, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just a matter of where this team is going to get its wins in SEC play. Jordan, you were very confident going into the game. I think you had, 45-24. I split the difference a little bit. I went 38-27, but I did caveat it a little bit by saying I think Tennessee leads by 4 points late, and they score a touchdown to win it by 11. That was obviously not the case. I'm trying to remember what our guy Andrew Miller from the Mississippi State channel said. I think he said maybe 36-30, which would have been closer than mine. He only missed the spread there by a point. But we knew this was going to be a competitive game going in. We just didn't expect it to shape out the way it did with all the turnovers on both sides.
Yeah, and I feel like it probably helped Mississippi State out, like being a little bit more familiar with Heupel, considering like Levy's background. And they did run a similar style offense because I was hearing that going into the game. Didn't watch too much of Mississippi State heading into the game. But I did see a lot of similarities there between Tennessee and Mississippi State. And honestly, I'm wondering if that's why Tennessee kind of strayed away a little bit more with their rushing attack. I mean, considering that that's what Mississippi State would probably assume was going on. So maybe they tried to catch them off on their toes. I mean, ultimately ended up winning Tennessee the game. But yeah, I mean, Mississippi State's a good team. And I'm excited to see like how they finish for the rest of the year. I think that Egg Bowl is going to be pretty nice towards the end of the year.
Yeah, it should be really fun. Ole Miss, by the way, coming up with a big win over LSU today, 24-19. So starting to see some quotes come out from the press conference, and let's talk a little bit about this because there's some there's some interesting quotes here just about how the end of the game went. This is all from our friend Ryan Shumpert, by the way, over at Rocky Top Insider, if you want to see these for yourself. Heupel saying they had a second play ready after the Deshaun Bishop first down run at the end of regulation. And I know that's a point of contention a little bit. Fans should rightfully be upset about how the way that end of regulation sequence was handled by running all that time off the clock. I don't know what exactly that's for. Just didn't make a whole lot of sense there. Maybe he knew what he was doing. Maybe he wanted to play for overtime, which kind of feels like a little bit of a way to chicken out there from getting it done in regulation. Talking a little bit about the offensive pass interference called on Brazel, which is something else I'd like to address. They didn't say anything to me. It will be an interesting play to go back and watch. I got to be honest, Jordan, this officiating crew was not bad for most of the night, but there were some penalties in there, particularly pass interference calls that should not have been called, because you had the offensive pass interference on Brazel. And at first I watched and I was like, yeah, I can kind of see how it happened. But then also the more I watched it, the more I was just like, the DB's not even looking for the ball. Brazel's trying to make a play there. They shouldn't have called that. They probably should have let that one go. And again, we would be way more outraged by it had Tennessee lost this game. But no, you end up getting it done. So I don't think we're going to talk about this a ton in the future. The worst one, though, I think, was the DPI they called on your boy Colton Hood. There was the smallest of jersey tugs there. And it was like the ref was running stride for stride with him. I think he thought he had the call there. It was not enough to disrupt the play. Like, at some point, you got to let the boys play a little bit. And I just think that was a very, very dumb call by that officiating crew, who, by the way, was head refed by David Smith, who is a former Alabama football quarterback. I don't know how the SEC allows for that to happen, but they do. And Tennessee, for the most part, has a terrible track record with him on the call. So, some very questionable calls, some pass interference calls during that game for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I've honestly forgot about the Colton Hood pass interference call. That one was pretty egregious, to be honest. As far as the Chris Brazel one goes, I mean, they were both hand fighting in the air, And I mean, like, I only saw the clip like 2 times, but it seemed like there could have been a little flopping there by the
Yeah.
Mississippi State defender as well. That was a pretty questionable call. But in Mississippi State's defense, though, I mean, I feel like there was a few penalties that weren't called on Tennessee. I mean, I remember there was that one big play. I can't remember what quarter it was in, but it really looked like Aaron Carter got a horse collar tackle on that play, but it wasn't called. And there's a couple other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, like as far as how affecting Tennessee, that Colton Hood one was pretty bad. And then the Chris Brazzell one, man, I mean, I think he was flopping. I think that
Yeah.
guy was flopping.
Yeah. So your penalty comparison for the game, fairly even here. Both teams with 6 penalties called. Mississippi State had more penalty yardage with 71. 45 of those yards were off of personal fouls on Mississippi State, which Tennessee has to thank because you got 30 on one possession at the end of the first half, and then you had an additional 15 sometime early on in the second half. So, two teams that are very undisciplined. It's something I talked about with Andrew Miller of our Mississippi State channel on Tuesday night. But it could have been much worse, I feel like. And maybe Levy's teams being undisciplined is something he takes from Heupel because he's very much from the same lineage in the coaching trees as Heupel is. So that could be the case there.
Well, it didn't end up having a huge impact on the play, but I remember earlier in the game, Josh Josephs got like a tackle for a loss, and like the play was like already over with. Then he like body slammed the player, and I was like, "What is going on here? Like you already made the play." And I don't want to be too critical on Josh Josephs. I mean, because he's one of the main reasons why Tennessee won this game. But I mean, I was like, "What are you doing out there, man?" I'm like, "You already made the play. Like, there's no need for this." I mean, you wouldn't see this on some of the more disciplined coach teams like that we've seen historically, like the Alabamas of back in the day and everything like that, which I think that's what's made some of these teams great. I mean, like Alabama or in the NFL, the New England Patriots. I mean, just doing the little things right is what wins you games. And I think Tennessee sometimes gets away with wins that they shouldn't have. Based on like some of the things that have happened like during the games, like players like body slamming and stuff. But like I said, didn't have a big impact on the game, but it was just one thing that I noticed early on.
I think now would be a good time to transition to the defensive side of the ball now that you've mentioned it. What a weird game for this defense too, because overall you give up, what is that, 378 yards, which it could be worse. Honestly, it could be much worse than that. Blake Shapen goes 18 of 29, 180 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception. Couple long completions mixed in there for Shapen. 49 yards was the longest one he hit. That was later on in the game. I don't know if Brennan Thompson left the game with an injury or what. I know he went to the locker room at one point. I don't know if he stayed out of the game. But yeah, that was a bit of a problem for Mississippi State, just keeping some of your pieces healthy over the course of the game. And Tennessee, they brought the heat in this game at times. Early on in the game, you're getting TFLs. You finish with 5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss officially. So you were making some plays over the course of the game, but it just felt like after a certain point, like they completed the one pass to Brennan Thompson, and suddenly Fluff and Booth are doing whatever they want for a few parts of a possession, and they go down and score the one touchdown that they didn't get off of a turnover in that game. And of course, Bothwell, very nice game for him, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Mississippi State lead running back. So good stuff out of him. But again, this defense did so much to help you win this game too. You get the pick 6 early on in the game, and you're down 7-3 at that point. You gave up your defense gave up a touchdown earlier, technically speaking, but that was on a short field. You got to keep that in mind. And Mississippi State goes down and scores a touchdown there. I don't know if you're able to climb back in that game. So, again, very nice play by Colton Hood. He now has 2 defensive touchdowns in a 5-game span, which I don't know the last player to have done that. Maybe like Prentice Wagner or somebody like that, but that's
Or maybe
been a
Eric
minute.
Berry.
I'm sure Prentice Wagner did. Honestly, he might have had a couple of those games back in like 2010 when he was still around. Uh, but those sound like guys that could have done it. I'm sure Eric Berry did as well. But no, good stuff overall from Colton Hood. Didn't notice Ty Redmond nearly as much in this game, which is probably a good thing. Um, he had, I think, one. They ended up calling it a TFL early in the game where the guy caught the ball in front of the line of scrimmage, tried to make a move, but wound up behind it. But that was the one time I noticed him in this game. I think your safeties are still lacking a little bit. You're seeing some arm tackles from guys like T-Lander specifically is one that comes to mind. But again, we keep saying it. They did so much to help you win. We mentioned it earlier, the fake punt that Mississippi State converts on. You're thinking, man, if they go down and score here, Tennessee is done. They're absolutely done. And then what do you know? The next play, Tyree West drills Blake Shapen. Josh Joseph picks up the football. He's got a free lane to the end zone. That's a couple big hits that Tyree West delivered tonight. You had that one, and then there was another sack earlier on in the game. If that's a guy that you can get going off that edge, he's a very fun player to watch for this Tennessee team. And I know it's kind of come and gone in spurts, but he really showed his worth tonight for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of mixed emotions on the defense today because like I was mentioning, I mean, from a pass rush perspective, I think Tennessee played fantastic. And I think that's why we saw a little bit more passes to the side from Mississippi State from time to time, more screens and everything, because Tennessee was sending the pressure a lot throughout the game. I thought the defensive backs played decently well. I mean, Colton Hood stepped up, of course, and I've been high on him all the way back since May. And he had a good tackle for a loss too. I remember at one point in the game, I think they were trying to wrap the ball around the other way or something like that, and he tackled him in the backfield. But the rush defense, man. I mean, it just seemed like Mississippi State was running with will there at times. But like I said, I mean, it could be due to some of the injuries to the defensive line. Like I was mentioning, I mean, West and Joseph went down at one point, and then they both came back in the game. And when does Tennessee finally start getting healthy on the defensive line is one of my biggest questions, because even if these players aren't missing games that are going down with injuries, you got to imagine that these players are pretty beat up if they're going down. Yeah. And I think it was Robinson in the Syracuse game went down 3 times in one game. I mean, Tennessee really can't afford for their defensive line to be beat up. And I mean, if Tennessee has to face a running back that's going to put up a better performance than Bothwell, then they could be in trouble.
Still don't have any word on a timetable for David Hobbs' return just yet. That we knew he'd missed the first few games. Could be reasonable to expect him back after a little while. Trying to look through, because I noticed there were some younger guys getting playing time tonight as well. Ethan Utley is a guy that you expect with some of the depth lacking in the interior of the defensive line. Isaiah Campbell, another guy that got some playing time tonight. Saw 47 running around out there. Jordan Burns getting in the mix at linebacker. Jordan Ross, another guy that played really well tonight at times, bringing some heat for this group. And you mentioned earlier Caleb Herring. That's a guy that I think people have been waiting to see if he can emerge for a little while. And tonight he might have just done that. 1.5 sacks for him. Back-to-back plays, I should mention as well. So some big moments in that game for him. And you have more as well. Tyree Weathersby also credited with 0.5 sack. Tyree West, the 2 sacks, as we mentioned earlier. They gave Ty Redmond 0.5 TFL on that first play of the game, I think. Other guys involved, Edwin Spillman, Josh Josephs. So you're getting some youth in there. Ben Bolton, who is a guy that I believe started his career off as a walk-on, may still be a walk-on. He's from Nashville originally. I think he ended up at like MUS or something. Their family was an NBA family for a while. That's why I know that. Um, but you're getting these young guys in, and it serves a purpose for the future. So again, very, very weird performance from this defense. You like some of the things you see, and then sometimes you just want to rip your hair out.
Yeah, and it really gave me mixed emotions, like I said, because I mean, that I'm like a huge defensive line guy. I love the pass rush. I think it's one of the most important things to winning a football game is having an elite pass rush, and that's what Tennessee had, and they won the game. But at the same time, too, you just don't want to give up so much in rushing. But yeah, I thought Caleb Herring stepped up big time too, like as I mentioned earlier, and just looking at the box score on here and seeing the distribution of the stats. I mean, Tennessee got 11 tackles for a loss, as you mentioned earlier. And then the most tackles for a loss by a player on the team is both Joseph and Herring with 1.5. Or no, Tyree West got 2, and then Herring and Joseph's follow with 1.5. So it seemed like everyone was getting active in terms of like tackling in the backfield, which you'd like to see, especially with Tennessee having to shuffle in so many different guys. It's good to see that they've been effective doing that. But yeah, I still just can't get my mind off of the run game there, man. Like Tennessee's gonna have to shapen up on that big time. No
Yeah,
pun intended.
thanks. I can't tell if that's Tennessee not being able to run the ball well or just not wanting to run the ball. I think it's option B. I would hope it's option B for
Well, I'm
Tennessee.
talking about defensively. Offensively,
Oh,
yeah, I think it was
yeah.
schematically.
No, you do wonder about that a little bit, especially with the team coming down the road in Arkansas that can put up some points. We've seen it in a couple of their recent games. Looking again at more quotes here. Josh Heupel, not a big cowbell fan. He says, "I don't know how to explain them. They're a noisemaker. We had a couple false starts on short yardage tempo." But let's be completely honest, Josh. You did a pretty good job handling that part of it. I actually think they did a good job with that. Some of the other coaching decisions in that game didn't make a whole lot of sense. There was there man, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch, but there was a sequence there near the end of the first half where you get yourself a chance to potentially double dip, win the middle eight. But you drew a screen up on I think like a 3rd and 11. Incomplete pass to either Staley. Yeah, it was Staley because he slipped on the route. And then you trot Max Gilbert out there for a field goal that he misses. So, again, there were plenty of questionable decisions by this coaching staff in the game, but you're not going to think about those as much now that Tennessee has won.
Yeah. And some of those things that you mentioned, like the screen passes, man, that was one of my biggest complaints with Tennessee last season, or like maybe even over the past couple of seasons, is just like there's been times where there's been questionable play calls. And I just remember last year, there were seemingly several 3rd downs where Tennessee would like throw a screen pass to Squirrel White or whoever, and they would get like 3 or 4 yards, and then you're like punting. I just don't understand that. And like we were talking earlier about the what ended up leading to overtime and everything, like burning the 25 seconds off, and then like when there's only I can't remember how much time was left on the clock, maybe like 7 seconds or something like that, and then they decided to give the ball to Star Thomas right there at like the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know about that, and it just I think it was Kurt Benkirk or whatever, the former Packers quarterback. I think he mentioned one time on his podcast that he said that most Madden players probably have better clock management than the average coach. And after seeing what Tennessee was doing there towards the end, I'll tell you, I wouldn't have made those mistakes in Madden.
Note to anyone aspiring to be in the coaching profession, make sure you played a little Madden growing up.
Oh, yeah.
It'll go a long way. And a lot of them do, honestly. It does help you a little bit, give you a better understanding of some of that stuff. So, but overall, you're going to forget about this a little bit now that Tennessee has won the game and that's at least over with. We would have a much different tune to our show if that was not the case. Okay, let's do a little look around what's going on in the college football world right now that we need to be concerned about. Duke taking down Syracuse today, 38-3 in the JMA Wireless Dome. That Steve Angeli injury, I'm afraid, has hurt them really, really bad. Going to be a long season for them. So that's just unfortunate, really unfortunate. Games on right now. You've got Alabama ahead on Georgia 17-7. In between the hedges, I should say. Good start for Alabama, obviously. Kind of similar to last year. You score a couple touchdowns early on in the game, you go up. I don't know if this is a kryptonite thing for Kirby Smart, but not a good start at all for Georgia, getting down 17-7 at home like that. Couple games now where they've not had good starts in SEC play, if you want to include the Tennessee game. Other game of note going on in SEC play right now is that is at least a conference matchup. You've got South Carolina ahead of Kentucky 21-10. Not overly surprised by that, especially with the game being in Columbia. We'll give more updates on that as that goes on. Some earlier finals from today. Tennessee does not play any of these four teams I'm about to mention, but Ole Miss taking down LSU 24-19. Rebels moving to 5-0. They're a sneaky team out there. People are sleeping on them a little bit just because you lost so much from that team last year, but they are in a position with the games that they play at home this year. They are in a position to potentially win 10 games. Like, I could see them losing at Georgia and Oklahoma, but that may be it, in all honesty. Auburn and Texas A&M. I have some friends that went to both of those schools. We're in a group text, and apparently that one was really messy. A&M got it done 16-10. Tough look for Auburn. Hugh Freeze' seat only getting warmer out there on the plains, I should say. Botching my introductions here. Vanderbilt beating Utah State 55-35. That was kind of a funky game. That was a tight game for most of the first half. I think 28-21 at half. But Vandy ended up pulling away and winning the game. So good for the Doors, I guess. They'll be 5-0 going into Alabama. And then the other game, which involves Tennessee's next opponent, Notre Dame absolutely stomping on Arkansas in Fayetteville today, 56-13. Look, I know Tennessee's defense did not play well today, or Tennessee's offense did not play as well as it could have, I should say. But there is no excuse for Tennessee not to score 35 points or more against Arkansas next week. There's just not.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me feel a lot more confident in the Arkansas game, which, I mean, as you know, like, I've been confident about the Arkansas game even going into the season because, I mean, Tennessee absolutely cannot lose to Arkansas in back-to-back years after what happened last season. But, man, I was really shocked that Notre Dame won by as much as they did. Like, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but, like, seeing that score keep going up and up, and then the post-game quotes with Pittman trying to rationalize everything that happened, like, after the game. Pretty interesting because, I mean, Notre Dame already had like 2 losses heading into the game, and I was pretty critical of them like being ranked. But, I mean, they got the job done and they handled an SEC team. So props to Notre Dame for that. Like, I'll give them their flowers every once in a while.
I tweeted it during that game, but do you know how much Nico running out of bounds has done for Sam Pittman's job security? That is their one Power 4 home win over the past 2+ seasons. They lost by a touchdown to BYU. They lost 7-3 to I think Mississippi State, and then they had a 20-10 loss to Texas. Everything else has been a blowout. Some of those have not been against good teams either. Like Auburn was 6-6 2 years ago, and beat them 48-10 in Fayetteville. That it's actually crazy how much Nico has helped that man out. That and Auburn and Mississippi State just not being very good last year are part of it. But those are some scores of interest for you there. Don't know if we have a Penn State Oregon score just yet. Let me pull that up. See what we got. 3-3 late in the first half of that game. 134 remaining in the second quarter. So, Big Ten schools going to Big Ten. Did have some fun games earlier today in the noon window. Georgia Tech getting it done against Wake Forest, braving a 20-3 deficit, coming back and winning that game 30-29 in overtime. Illinois and USC played an amazing game on Fox earlier today. Illinois got it done 34-32, walked it off with a field goal for the win. Good for them after just a complete bludgeoning last week at Indiana. We'll just call it like it is. And then we turn to the Polynesian Prince himself. Northwestern 17, UCLA 14, your final score from Evanston.
What's the stat line? I want to hear the stat line.
I'm going to pull this up. Northwestern was 2-1 or 1-2 going into this game, I should say, because they had losses to Oregon and Tulane. Stat line for Nico, honestly, not terrible. 19 of 27 for 180 yards and a touchdown. That's a good day for him when he was
probably like his third career high for passing yards.
That was a good day for him when he was at Tennessee. He's still their leading rusher, by the way. 65 rush yards in that game. Did run for 32 on one play. They got down in a hole pretty early in that game. I want to say it was 17-3 at half, maybe. They were down bad early. Took 3 sacks in this game. Did not turn the ball over at all. But, always a good day when Tennessee wins, Nico loses, and you just are reaffirmed that you won the trade for Joey Aguilar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good seeing Tennessee on the winning side of that, so-called trade that happened. But what did you think about the Florida State game yesterday? Because I didn't get a chance to see it, and my brother was like, "Did you see that Florida State game?" And I was like, "No, why?" And he was like, "I think Squirrel White may have died." And then
he is not dead. We can confirm that he is not dead.
Yeah, I end up seeing like a blurred picture of him like standing like after the fact, but holy crap, man. Like I've never seen a field rush like that. It's like as soon as that ball like hit the ground, like they were already in the end zone. And then it looked like Squirrel White got ran over by like 200 plus people. Like I want to know like what is like he had to have suffered something from that, right? Like a hurt ankle, like a sprained ankle or something. Like there's no way you walk away from that completely healthy.
Would have been the first time he's fallen over in the last couple of years. He did that quite a bit at Tennessee last season. Unfortunately, Jordan, I did not watch that game at all because I was actually broadcasting a high school football game between Franklin and Independence down there in Thompson Station. So that game went final, I think, as I was driving back. But no, I saw all of it. I mean, that's in the top tier of field stormings. I mean, we've seen some pretty great ones over the years. I mean, the Tennessee-Alabama one from 2022 in particular was a pretty phenomenal one, that just sea of orange out there on Neyland Stadium. But no, I don't even think that beats what we saw last night. It just a full-on surge because they got that berm in the end zone, so it's easy for the students to run down there. But yes, Squirrel White is a meme now, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, did you see that graphic online? Like someone made a graphic. They put like his team picture on there, and they're like, "Rest in peace, Squirrel White." It was like 2004 to like 2025 or whenever he was born, and they put like a little candle like underneath his face in the picture.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's okay. I'm
Yeah.
glad he's okay. I mean, regardless of everything that happened at them transferring out from Tennessee, I mean, like that was a scary look, honestly. And the fact that he was standing after that is a pretty good sign.
Yeah. But that's about all the news I have right now. I guess Mizzou is up 21-6 on UMass, but you probably saw that coming because, UMass is not a good football team. Okay, so let's just go through some final takeaways from what is yet another instant classic between Tennessee and Mississippi State. Um, anything stand out to you from this game, Jordan? Just off the top of your head that we are going to remember in a few years' time?
Well, I think a few years down the line, I mean, probably a lot of my complaints with the game is not going to be remembered. I think
No.
most people are going to just think about how the game ended. I think most people are probably going to go back to that block punt for a touchdown. I think that that or not the block punt for yeah. I'm confusing myself right now. Anyways, like towards the end of the game, like I think everyone's going to remember that more
The scoop
than
and score
yeah, the scoop and
after the
score.
fake punt. That's why you're conflating the two of them because you
Yeah,
had the fake.
yeah, I'm getting a little confused here, but yeah, I think most people are going to remember that. They're going to remember Deshaun Bishop's run. Maybe, I mean, I think Tennessee fans are going to remember the play clock management. I don't know the rest of the college football world. That's probably going to be forgotten about.
We're
But
petty.
yeah, we're petty. We don't forget. We don't forget. I'm still upset about that LSU game where there's 13 men on the field, and I was like 10 years old when that game happened.
Well, Tennessee also lost that game, so there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, that is true. But it's funny. Um, now that it's brought up because I've actually remembered more bad moments as a Tennessee fan than good ones.
It's because you haven't been alive for very many good ones, if we're being honest. I mean, the same is true for me.
Well, let me tell you something, man, because I think I need to go see a psychiatrist or something because there was that game. I can't remember what year, but I know for a fact I was watching that game because I watched like every Tennessee game. When Florida got that Hail Mary touchdown, I don't remember it. I have no recollection of it at all. So I don't know what that means. I know I was watching the game and I don't remember Florida winning off of a game winning Hail Mary. So I think that just like shook me to my core when that happened.
The battered Vol syndrome. The battered Vol syndrome. One thing that I think that's going to stick with me is actually going to be the way this defense played in the game. And it sounds so funny to say, but I mean, if you're just looking at the point total, you gave up 34 points. That doesn't look good on paper. But I mean, the reality is some of those are on short fields. Two of them for sure that we know of. Actually, three different touchdowns that Mississippi State scored were on short fields. Yes, Fluff had a nice game for them. Here's what it's kind of similar to. Just the fact that Tennessee won the game in overtime on the road. Pittsburgh 2022. That's what this feels a little bit like.
I like
Tennessee,
that.
struggling a little bit out the gate. I think they were in a deeper hole against Pittsburgh on the scoreboard, if we're being honest. But you had a couple big plays, a little bit sporadic on the defensive line, just in containing the run. Because Abanikanda, the running back for Pittsburgh, had a very nice game from what I remember from 3 years ago. But no, he had a very nice game. Bothwell did, but your defensive line also made plays too. I think they were of higher magnitude in this game because you had a touchdown on one of them. But you still finished the game with 5 sacks, and they were able to knock Keaton Slovis out of the game for Pittsburgh 2 years or 3 years ago. So that's what I'll remember from this. A team that what was everything going well all the time? No, but that's just not how it works in some of these instant classics. And you're going to look back on it fondly and remember the good things that happened in this game, not so much the bad.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to take a thing for me personally to take away from this game, I would probably, I mean, I was very impressed with the defensive line creating pressure, like I mentioned earlier, but I'm I'm probably always going to think about Joey Aguilar like leading the team down the field and being there and just not showing a shred of fear and going down and winning games. Because even if he did throw 2 interceptions on the stat line, everything like that, I mean, we've seen games in the past where, or in the NFL, I mean, I wasn't alive when he was in college, but I watched games, Peyton Manning, when he played for like the Colts and the Broncos. I mean, he would throw some interceptions in the game. And I'm not trying to make a comparison between them, although I kind of am in this scenario.
Yeah.
But I mean, Peyton Manning would throw interceptions from time to time, but you give him the ball with less than 2 minutes of the game in the possession, he was winning that game. And with the way that Joey Aguilar was marching the ball down the field, I had extreme confidence in Tennessee, which is saying a lot considering some of the stuff that we've had to put up with in years past, like the Ole Miss game where Joe Milton ran out of bounds, or last year's game where Nico ran out of bounds.
Joey did run out of bounds late in the game, but it was not costly like those two.
Yes, he actually had a good reason.
Yeah,
I mean, everything that he's done, I mean, showed so much IQ. I mean, the amount of times that, like, I mean, he can stay in the pocket and make throws all day. But even when he escapes, he doesn't run like his hair's on fire, like he's running for his life. He might run and take it upfield, but he's still waiting for those passes to develop. A lot of times he breaks out of the pocket and he's still looking downfield. And that's one thing that I think that makes him so great, is that he never gives up on a play. And I think if Joey Aguilar continues to play the way that he does, then I think he's going to be remembered fondly by Tennessee fans in similar ways that Hendon Hooker has been looked fondly of in the past year, especially considering all the stuff that happened in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about Joey Aguilar. There's just so much more poise than what we saw from the rest of the guys that have come through here that aren't Hendon Hooker under Heupel to play quarterback. They've looked a lot better, I must say, this year than in years past offensively. And one other guy too that I wanted to mention, that's what I was trying to think about while you were talking, Boo Carter.
Oh yeah.
Because here's the thing. We have been critical of Boo Carter this season, rightfully, but he stepped up and made plays in this game. The play before the pick six that Colton Hood caught, he delivered a big hit. In real time, I thought it could have been a fumble, but the running back never had possession of the ball, so did not have a scoop and score opportunity there. But no, he made that play, and you needed to get him back in at punt returner just after what you saw from Staley. Just two really, really bad, punt return plays from Staley. Obviously, you have the muff punt, but you had another one too, his second one, I should say, where you just stare at the ball, act like you're going to pick it up, never do, and then that ball rolls within the 1 yard line. Tennessee was able to get out of that precarious situation, which is good for Tennessee, obviously, but you can't have that. That's why Squirrel White stopped returning punts after the Arkansas game last year, because he let a ball trickle an extra 20 yards when you were trying to play the field position game. Obviously, that was at a much more critical juncture than what happened with Tennessee today, but you just can't have that stuff. And funny, another Pittsburgh 2022 parallel, Trayvon Flowers had a muff punt in that game where he stuck his hands up like this to try and catch a ball instead of like this on a punt return. You can't be doing that. So, no, I think this game is actually very similar to that Pittsburgh game in 22.
Yeah, it's a pretty good analogy. And honestly, it got me a little excited because that 22 season, I mean, is the best season that I've seen from Tennessee since I've been watching games. So I like that little comparison there. It gives me a little bit more hope for the rest of the season. But that down punt on the 1 yard line, man, that had me sweating bullets after the muff earlier in the game. I mean, I think it almost hit his shin at one point. So maybe that's why he like backed up a little bit and they downed at the one. But I mean, I was ready to throw my remote through the TV at that point. But thankfully, it didn't end up being a big ordeal.
Oh no, you had plays like that multiple times throughout this game, but it happens when you go on the road. You know that bad things are going to happen. Every now and again when you're playing a respectable opponent on the road. It's about how you respond. And I think that's the big thing. The biggest takeaway I have from this game is that Tennessee, it was a little bit unconventional at times, obviously, with the 2 defensive touchdowns, but it found ways to respond in moments where its back was against the wall. You climbed out of the hole a couple different times. We mentioned the fake punt and the interception multiple times in this show already, but it's true. That's what Tennessee was able to do. You needed a big play in those situations, and your guys ultimately went out and did it.
I mean, I think a lot of times in years past, I mean, Tennessee's had games where they've shot themselves in the foot and they haven't been able to recover. And I think Tennessee shot themselves in the foot a couple of times during this game, but they still found a way to win. And I mean, that's all you can ask for at the end of the day. I mean, as much as the game frustrated me, because I wanted to see Tennessee win in a dominant fashion. I mean, they still got the win at the end of the day. And I mean, and you could argue too, if Tennessee got those 2 interceptions back, that it could have been a completely different game as well. So, I mean, a couple of mistakes can change a game, but luckily Tennessee ended up walking away with the win at the end of the game.
All right, that's about all I have for this post-game show. Jordan, anything major that we missed? I'm going to run through my phone one more time just to make sure we don't have any quotes that we're missing. But I think we've covered all the bases here.
Yeah, I'm going through my notes right now. I guess the one thing, I'm curious to see the status of Jesse Perry's injury, but we're probably not going to.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier.
Heupel will only tell you such things unless a guy is out for the season. Is what we would hear about Jesse Perry. If we were to hear anything about him, it will all appear on the availability report. Obviously, we don't have a timeline on Hobbs right now. Jermod McCoy eyeing a return for that Arkansas game, so that will be fun here in a couple weeks. But now you go into the bye week, and Tennessee was not stellar coming out of the bye weeks last year. I think we found out why, though, because Nico was out in California for that first one instead of preparing to beat Arkansas in Fayetteville. But you hope as a whole that you have a little bit more focus. And overall, Heupel very good out of a bye week. Only, I believe, 2 losses total in his coaching career out of a bye week, that Arkansas one being one of them. So it'll be good to rest up, especially after another game like this.
Yeah, and if McCoy comes back for the Arkansas game, I mean, that could be like real electric because I mean, I've been impressed with everything Colton Hood's done so far. I feel like a lot of the defensive backs have stepped up this season when they've needed to, and getting Jermod McCoy back in there. If he can be anything like he was last season, that's going to be a huge addition to Tennessee's defense that will get me really excited moving forward.
All right, well, that'll do it for us tonight on your Tennessee postgame show live here on the Voice of College Football Network. Again, we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and watching us. I always love your feedback on the reactions to what was another just insane Tennessee football game. 2 overtime games to start SEC play is nuts. I don't remember the last time that's happened for Tennessee, if ever. But again, if you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. Again, we will be live on Monday night at 8 Eastern time. Believe that will probably be our only show next week. Bye week, no need to do a post-game show, obviously. You're not losing to anybody during the bye week. So we will be live on Monday night. We'll talk about this a little bit more and what Tennessee needs to do during the bye week to ready itself for the road ahead. For Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We'll talk to you guys Monday.